the check black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much, say less, remain on code, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for resilience. A fight inherited, no turning back, we're on our way. Tune into Eve at the end of your day, defying the odds. She's breaking the mold, black, beautifully blunt. Eve's story is bold, unpopular talks, but they need to be heard. Eve's on a mission, spreading the word. Black America is fighting the oldest fight, using her voice, shining the light. Stay ready, stay strong, that's her creed. Eve's got the wisdom, planting the seed. Just Eve, just Eve, just Eve, just Eve, planting seeds. Cut the check black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much, say less, remain on code, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for resilience. A fight inherited, no turning back, we're on our way. Tune into Eve at the end of your day, defying the odds. She's breaking the mold, black, beautifully blunt. Eve's story is bold, unpopular talks, but they need to be heard. Eve's on a mission, spreading the word. Black America is fighting the oldest fight, using her voice, shining the light. Stay ready, stay strong, that's her creed. Eve's got the wisdom, planting the seed. Just Eve, just Eve, just Eve, just Eve, planting seeds. Just Eve, just Eve.
Cockroaches and parasites wiping cow dung on their face and then like sleeping with white men's wives, you know, because, oh, well, he's a doctor and I could have a better life over here, you know, and then the next thing you know, you're with some fat, fupa, stinky, like disgusting cow dung ridden dot head Indian that will never assimilate into your culture ever. They brush their teeth with this stuff. They eat soup that's this stuff. They're disgusting, parasitic people. And then we want to embrace them. And then Fox tells you how excited you should be that all of these Indians are coming here and that we're going to be so much more intellectually advanced and technologically sound because of the Indians. No.
What clip do you have, Rob, about the H1B1 visas for us to start off? Let me just read one of them here to you. What to know about the H1B1 visa fueling the divide in a MAGA world. Let me kind of read the story and then we'll get into a few clips. The H1B visa program, which allows highly skilled workers in specialty occupations to live and work temporarily in the U.S., is at the center of a divide in MAGA world. Proponents like Musk, himself a former H1B holder, argue it helps the U.S. retain a competitive edge in the STEM fields, while hardliners such as activists like Laura Loomer insist the U.S. should prioritize American workers. H-1B visas capped at 85,000 new approvals annually, require employer sponsorship, and are granted for up to 6 years. In 2023, 72% of recipients were from India, followed by China, 12%, and the Philippines, 1%. The program does not provide a path to permanent residency as it grants only non-immigrant status. Tom, your thoughts on what's going on here with the H-1B visa debate?
So there's a lot of angles here, a lot of angles to go. And so the first angle that I'm going to go with is, I like to say, if you want to look at a problem, you got to go upstream a little bit, right? I talk about the polluted lake. Liberals want to build a $1 billion filter. Conservatives want to go upstream and say, hey, what are the creeks and rivers putting in the lake? And then stop it upstream, and it's an easy way to the problem. The first thing I think nobody was talking about over the weekend, and I think we should talk about it for a minute, is you got to go upstream. What is happening? Why aren't there, now some people say there's plenty, and I saw that argument. Some people say there wasn't enough of American engineering graduates. Now, why?
Excellent question. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Eve. Tonight, we're going to have a conversation, or at least I have a question. Is this hate speech? Because the blogger that was ranting about these third world parasites, I mean, if you did your homework and you looked up the definition of some words so that we could all be on the same page about what we're talking about. A parasite being an organism that lives in or on an organism of another species. You've got a host. And no, we're not talking about bugs or bugs, right? But we are talking about things or systems that are existing because of other systems, and it does seem very parasitic. I find that we are in a very strange time, 2025 being the doomsday, right? The Democrats tried to tell us that the world was going to end if Trump became president, and not like we haven't had a Trump presidency before, right? But this one was going to be so different. It was going to be so bad. Oh my gosh, you got to hide your kids and hide your wife because they, doing all that stuff to everybody out here. And while I'm not saying that that's not true, I am saying that, well, I don't know if Trump is the boogeyman that they've set him out to be, at least not to the people that they've told and have, I guess, made everybody believe should be afraid of him, right? You've got Mr. Tom Homan, the incoming border czar, very eager to get behind the reins. I mean, I really think he wants to be one of those guys on them horses that were snatching up them Haitians. But, it's he's biting at the nip or at the bit. I always fuck that up. Anyway, Tom can't wait to get started. You've got people saying that Elon is running the White House. I mean, literally as soon as Trump became president, they started saying that Trump is not even in control of things because Elon's running things. And it's like, well, damn, isn't Joe still the president? Maybe I'm just ignorant of these things. And shout out to you, Donald, because, I guess you are bringing America together, making it great in somebody's eyes, right? I guess maybe turning the page on some hard stances have been a way to make sure that you don't end up obsolete. The Democrats, they haven't learned savvy as much as they have learned how to hide their hand. And, when you learn that that's the game, well, I guess you start looking for all the hands. But when savvy is the game, it's all about the words and, well, what's not being said or what is being said. This is why you've got people saying, well, that's what Trump's about. Well, Trump, there you are. You're about to give reparations to people who've been discriminated against because of their American-born status, with regards to education and grants and that realm of things. And people said that that's a slight against Black people, and I don't see the slight. But you've got people on your side of things, Trump, and nobody is agreeing as much as I thought this was hilarious because Leonardo Joni, she's a comedian, right? But she doesn't look like she's having a lot of fun.
Cockroaches and parasites wiping cow dung on their face and then like sleeping with white men's wives, because, oh, well, he's a doctor and I could have a better life over here, and then the next thing you know, you're with some fat, fupa, stinky, like disgusting cow dung ridden dot head Indian that will never assimilate into your culture ever. They brush their teeth with this stuff. They eat soup that's this stuff. They're disgusting, parasitic people. And then we want to embrace them. And then Fox tells you how excited you should be that all of these Indians are coming here and that we're going to be so much more intellectually advanced and technologically sound because of the Indians. No, they are third world parasites, and they're pieces of crap, and they're terrible people who have no moral ground or upstanding. And you're right, they don't value the human life, and they gang rape women. That's who these people are.
But first, go to his tweet. So Vivek posts this tweet. If you go under my account, you'll see. Keep going down, keep going down, keep going down, keep going down, keep going down. Right there. Go to his tweet first, and then you'll come back to mine. Let me read this to you. This upset a lot of people, but let's process it. The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, a lazy and wrong explanation. The key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers, and we're really serious about fixing the problem. We have to confront the truth. American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s, and likely longer. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympia champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. That upset a lot of people. But he's not wrong, is the question. Is he wrong
he's
with that statement?
Not wrong.
Okay, let's continue. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World, or Zack and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell, or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. Fact, I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity. And their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. More movies like Whiplash. He continues to go, and then most.
And this is where I'm going to have to pause the 4-page letter that Vivek had to pen to anybody who would listen, because, you know, the argument has some points, right? It is very strange that America has made or pedestalized certain things and then will go somewhere else to get something that it's lacking in. But I mean, isn't that the American way? You know, if you can't do it yourself, then you go make somebody else do it for you. And as much as America, the system, has been starting fires all over the place, and dare I say, creating shitholes for people to feel like they need to flee. You know, it's so bad here. You know, maybe it wasn't so great. And, well, I'm from here, so I can only speak of my existence here, but to you, any of you who aren't from here, I've heard you say that home is paradise and, you know, it's so beautiful there, but you come here for the economic opportunity. And then, well, I mean, the math kind of starts mathing when you add everything up, because, well, America has put certain emphasis on some things and less emphasis on other things. And now you've got roly-poly looking children and people who have not read a book since school because they hate it. You know, we've got people who prioritize backwards things, probably because they grew up in a system that didn't give a shit about them. The public schooling in our country sucks. But that's by design, of course, because if you think about where it came from, then you would have to make a note that they didn't really want you to think. They wanted workers. And, well, now that we are out of the age of machinery and into the age of technology, well, it's a lot of different things happening. We've got information sharing, misinformation sharing, people still flocking here because of this supposed economic opportunity. And right, all the way free in the chat, those reparations, you know, we need some funds to help the people who are already here. Because if we want to be honest, and I hope you're comfortable being honest, all of the skills that America's first crime, you know, the one that they want to turn the page on and, you know, unburden themselves from and, you know, basically flood the nation with others to basically make sure that they don't ever have to repay. You know, those reparations, they are owed. And as long as I have a voice, I will continue to sound the alarm on how to at least maybe start a conversation about why things aren't the way they are. Because, well, I guess everybody understands that 99% of us don't really matter with how much money we have. You know, 1% controls everything. Okay, but then inside of the 99, a lot of y'all think that you're the minority, and you're not. You've been lied to. You know, we've got some unlearning to do in 2025, and, you know, I think that it is in our numbers that we will find we've probably already been that close to a touchdown. if you will, right there at the end zone. I was about to say something else, a different sports analogy. Shows you how much I watch football. But anyway, Americans, they've been trying to fuck our children, and I couldn't figure out a better way to put that. But with all the focus on fucking our children and making sure there are no more fucking black people, they've dropped the ball. And inside of dropping the ball, they said, well, there's got to be something else going on around the world. Kind of like right after slavery when, they couldn't really find all the niggas that they had misplaced. I know we dropped some niggas off around here. I know we let some niggas go this way. We haven't seen them niggas in a long time. What's going on over there? And it's, a Black Wall Street, a thriving Black community that doesn't need them for anything. And as much as you would think that means that they left us alone, because it's no more slavery. That's not what happened. And, do a little research. You find out about the bombings and the floodings and the killings and the starvings. And, well, all of those thriving Black communities aren't there anymore. But what about the skills? Where do all these other places get these skills from? I would wonder if maybe listening to Dr. Winters on a Thursday might open your mind to the possibility that all niggas didn't stay here in America. And I don't mean we fled. I mean, we sought economic opportunities in other places. And just like last year and in the last 5 years, Black Americans have seen that, different African countries that acted like their friend, come here, you can get your dual citizenship here. It was all about the money and no quid pro quo. No, just what can you do for me now? And nothing about what I can do for you, So, we got a lot of things going on, but at the end of the day, America doesn't need to look elsewhere if they put the money where it belongs. But they're not. But then everybody says that Vivek has such an argument. He's so right. Look at what we emphasize.
Most normal Americans' parents look skeptically at those kinds of parents. More normal American kids view those kinds of kids with scorn. If you grew up aspiring to normalcy is what you will achieve. Now close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s who raised their kids according to one model versus the other. Be brutally honest. Normalcy doesn't cut in the hyper-competitive market.
I don't know about y'all, but as a Black American, normalcy? What? We weren't allowed to bring home C's. That seems pretty average to me. It's so funny how people can have these layered conversations with the world because they're talking to white America. This brown man on your screen. Okay, you can't see him anymore. There he is. That man is talking to white America about white America not treating white America. It's like white on white crime at this point, isn't it? Because, with all the emphasis on black crime, and I don't really see what they talk about as much as I do see Black people harming other Black people. And that kind of goes back to that money that we were talking about that we're owed, the jealousy and contempt for it all. But they don't have the control or the power to keep me from saying anything that I'm saying tonight. But the systems that, we pay and taxes and this YouTube account that I'm using has all sorts of shadow bans. And I'm surprised that any of you guys are able to watch my show any of these times that I get these targets. But I don't know that I'm a hate speecher. This guy, that guy, he just was like, we're just going to let it rip.
Cockroaches and parasites.
Cockroaches and parasites. I mean, that seems pretty offensive. And, YouTube, y'all flagged me for saying that America has a flea problem, but his channel he doesn't have any issues on his channel. What's up with that? It's seeming a little targeted, but I'm just a user. You know, I'm not one of these tech people who have control over these things. You know, you've got both sides of Trump, all sides of Trump, all of the people who voted for Trump. They're having this infighting going on because, well, we are not them niggas. Do you hear me? We're not them niggas. Look at me. Excellent point. That's crazy. Oh, damn. Y'all didn't even see my excellent point. How about I go backwards to here?
56 agents to 60,000 insurance agents dealing with every department of insurance that's led and typically ran by somebody who is a liberal. Think about they don't like people like us, is what we have to deal with. But then this prompted people to get upset and say a bunch of different things. If you go back up, Rob, up top, I said something about, on another tweet, I said something about, what's your biggest example? Go back above that right there. The one right above it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going, Rob. Keep going a little bit higher. I think this is the one. This lady says, kindly go a little lower. Working 80 hours a week is not a healthy role model. No problem. Quite frankly, you choose your role models for you and your kids, which is your job as a parent. Whoever you edify, it is what it is. And I said, respectfully, both the app and the phone you're using were built by a founder and executive team that worked 80 hours a week for many years. Also, our founding fathers worked very hard. And I put 80 hours a week. And the community note says, we don't know if they worked 80 hours a week or not. You just have to realize they work.
Shout out to the community note who kind of almost got it right. They weren't working we were working 80 hours a week. Hey, can we use that figure when we're talking about how much is owed to, you know, the descendants of the niggas who ain't never got paid? Can we do that? 80 hours a week. Jeez.
Work a lot more than 80 hours a week. These guys are trying to survive, is what they're trying to do. By the way, so then while we're doing this, me and the research team go a little bit deeper into this. And these are some of the numbers that comes up, okay? When you think about what America goes through. If I was to ask you, and I asked you guys these questions yesterday, so I don't want to ask you guys, but I asked the audience, what percentage of startup billion-dollar company founders do you think were immigrants? Let me ask you one more time. What percentage of billion-dollar startups do you think the founder was an immigrant? Okay, I'll let you think about it for a second. 5%, 10%. So these are guys that start a company and it becomes a billion-dollar company. Do you know the number to this? Were you in the room when we talked about it?
I was not. No.
Okay, the number isn't 10%, not 20%, not 30%. Rob, if you want to pull this up, 55% of.
And that was the excellent point that I was trying to show you about 2 minutes ago that I lost because I wasn't sharing the right screen. You know, he's got people working for him. I don't. And I also don't have people I'm extorting to, you know, do my bidding in the chat because, you know, I don't participate in fraudulent business over here. So you're just going to have to work with me. But I do think that I'm getting a little bit faster with these transitions. But 55% of America's billion-dollar startups have an immigrant founder. That's crazy, right? Because they're saying, well, how can America be number one when all of these other countries have the golden child? It seems like America's only number one if they steal all the golden children. And maybe that's what they're trying to do. I really don't know what the nefarious plans are for the system that we currently exist in outside of ensure that niggas never get paid reparations. I mean, that seems to me a bottom line plan, because if it weren't, then maybe we would have been paid reparations. But why do you think that number's so high? Because I was wondering why that number might be so high. And then I thought about, you know, like government and, you know, maybe the people passing the laws might have something to do with this. And, well, as of, I don't know, the last time they did the Congress census information for Pew Research, looks like it was in February of 2023 for the 118th Congress, 15%, at least 15% of the 118th Congress, that is our current Congress outside of the people who might have been voted out in the past election. So give or take, but 15% of the past lawmakers of our country were immigrants or first generation immigrants. And that's crazy to me because, well, I mean, it's not so crazy anymore, but 55% of America's billion-dollar startups have an immigrant founder. How? If they're American companies, how? But then look, have you ever looked at the H1B visa top 20 companies that use the visa? Because you would think that they would all be these professionally skilled tech companies, right? That's what they keep saying. These are tech jobs. These are computer squad. This is, the geek squad at Best Buy, right? And damn, Best Buy was on the list, but other companies that were on the list were not tech related at all. You've got some financial investment companies, some consulting companies, and just like, well, what are you consulting other than how to take American dollars and give it to somebody else? Like, how did we get here? Have we been focusing on the wrong things? We're so focused on what them niggas is doing, making sure that the niggas don't come up, that all of these other groups have now infiltrated our spaces. White America, what the fuck is going on? I'm way more used to you when you were like this.
Wiping cow dung on their face and then like sleeping with white men's wives, because, oh, well, he's a doctor and I could have a better life over here.
I mean, when did you become so pussy? Because I'm not saying that I agree with him. I'm just saying that he doesn't care about how you feel about what he's saying. I guess maybe he feels like he's in between a rock and a hard place, right? Like, what do you do when your back's against the wall? I guess you fight. And people with a mic, the best way to fight is with your words, because you can rally a group of people behind you to do your bidding. I mean, isn't that why they said January 6th was going to be a bad day? And then, well, January 6th, a couple years ago, was a bad day. People were rallied behind the call of a protest, the call of, speak your speech, the First Amendment. You have the right to say and feel how you want, as long as you don't say certain things and feel certain ways, obviously. There is some fine print, but I guess maybe since he's not calling anybody a flea or saying that we have to get rid of the problem in a holistic way, I guess maybe America is still very eager for some violence. I'm not here for any violence. I just want to get to the bottom of things, make the checkbook balance out at the end of the day. America owes too many people, and I do mean people, and countries, and business. We owe so much money. Could you imagine if we just kind of kept all of our shit here, focused on home for a little bit, and then re-entered into the global space? I mean, I saw this one video earlier today where this teacher said that they're going to start teaching that, the moon landing wasn't real, and I'm like, wow, we really are in a time where nobody knows what the fuck they learned and if it were true and if it weren't true. I mean, flat earthers, were they the start? No, I don't think they were the start, but they were, trending. Because how could you've got these different things exist because of this, and know that the math wasn't mathing for them. Well, some of those people are educators and they're teaching your babies that the earth is flat. And they're saying, yeah, I know what the book says, but I'm just telling you. And, we don't have Zoom school anymore, so you guys aren't privy to these conversations. But I wish I could tell you that they weren't happening, but they are. You could go on TikTok and look at different educator TikToks and see how they run their classroom. I mean, they're kind of unapologetic like this guy on your screen. They don't really care as much as they're expecting you to also not care. Actually, no, they want you to champion it, put on a cape for it, scream to the world that this is the shit that you're into, because the slippery slope, that access to your baby. You know, maybe that isn't America's systemic sin, you know, hurting the innocence of it all, because Black babies have always been a target. You know, they don't want us to be here, so, you know, you got to get rid of us at the start. Well, now you've got these people, other people, who feel the same way. Because if they didn't, they would be saying, wait, I know I'm here, but what about them niggas? You know, y'all lied to the world and said that it was land of the free, but you haven't done anything for the people that helped me get here. You know, we would have a very different look of America. You know, I'd be very comfortable existing in this melting pot if everybody did the things that they were supposed to do. But they're doing the things that they want to do because that is how you've taught them to be. And that is the lesson that we're going to have to unlearn, because if you're going to have people like this, share the right screen, Eve.
Of America's billion-dollar startups have an immigrant founder. Why? Now, here's what some people will say. They'll say the H1B visa takes job away from Americans, but anybody can start a company. Founding a company doesn't have to be an immigrant to do it. Somebody that's born in America can do it. So why are so many startup founders immigrants? Then we want to look at to see what percentage of Fortune 500 companies are ran by immigrants or their child. So meaning you came here in the 60s, you started a company in the 70s, your son ends up building a company that becomes a Fortune 500 company. You know what that percentage was? 45% of Fortune 500 companies are ran by, you know, an immigrant or their children. So you look at this data, then we continue going. I'm like, listen.
You know, I wish we could get more comfortable with data, but I get it. You know, the school system failed a lot of us, and we're afraid of looking at the numbers. But not only will they blow your mind, but Dr. Anderson, he's got this little book, I love it, 101 Things a Black History Reader. And one of the questions talks about, you know, this influx of people who are not from here and how or why they've been able to make so much money so quickly. But I mean, even if you don't read Dr. Anderson, and I'm not saying you shouldn't because you should, but even if you didn't, you can just look around you and see that there are people who don't speak any English. And I'm not talking about the ones who eat beans and rice. Well, I guess they all eat some form of bean and rice. No, I'm just saying a lot of people are here and they don't even speak English, but they're not living in a shelter. I know Chicago's got you thinking that the migrants are on the streets. No, they're not. They're being housed and fed and clothed and given access to employment and English teachers and tutors. And it's very strange, so much emphasis and so many things for people who just got here. You know, we have to grow up and get credit, but you can come here yesterday and have credit. There was that one sister who went viral for having to sell her food truck to an illegal, and she went into the documentation almost of the bank giving her the money through him, or making him verify that this was real money and that he wasn't wasting her time. And he gave her the skinny of how he was able to get access to so much money, like probably the money she needed to keep her food truck business in business. But no, she has to sell her shit and go out of food truck business and do something else because, you know, the math wasn't mathing for her. But, you know, you add all of these things up and it's like, well, who are the resources going to? So yeah, I get it. White people are in the global red, and Joe Biden told everybody. I don't think that was something he was supposed to say so plainly, but he smacked his hands and told everybody on that Zoom call that wasn't recorded for everybody, but everybody got to see him tell the niggas, black faces in high places, if you will, that you're gonna have to work with the Hispanics and basically learn to hablo español. And it was like, whoa, why is he saying these things? And then you saw the migrant caravan. Migrant caravans. You know, there's a caravan at the border right now, and it's 5 different sources saying that they don't think they're gonna make it to the border. And that tickled me. Like I probably laughed about 5 minutes reading that headline, because 4 years ago, 5 years ago, they had on Biden Harris t-shirts. Like, how'd you get that shirt and you're not even here yet? But, you know, I'm just Eve, just an observer of these things. And, you know, as much as I want to take credit for being the first to give this information out, no, I saw this brown white man on another channel earlier, but the channel name escapes me. Oh, I'm so sorry. If I come across it, I will definitely put it in the description, because, you know, it is in the fine tuning, you know, making sure that we are paying attention to maybe channels you didn't think that you might get some information from, that you might be exposed to something else, or maybe just a reiteration of something that we've already been talking about. And, well, I think last we spoke, I talked about black on black crime, and we don't have a anti-black crime bill or a black crime bill, or we don't have anything on the books specifically for us, right? Because the last thing that was on the books for us, affirmative action, you know, you can be a white woman and get it. You can be a white man and under 5 foot tall and get it. You can be left-handed, you know, only one left hand. Well, because you only have one, only one-handed, you know, and get it. So affirmative action's out the door. Oh, the one before that, the 14th Amendment. Well, no, that man on your screen is probably, because I don't know his lineage, I'd probably look it up later, but, you know, he could be a beneficiary of that birthright citizenship. I know that, you know, Vivek is definitely a first-generation immigrant, and shout out to our lawmakers. 15% of them are only here because we've got these laws that allow these other people to come over here and make laws to govern the people that are here. What the fuck is that, America? I mean, that seems like hate speech to me. You know, when you've got people who hate us making laws for us, like they hate us. So obviously they would make sure that life is hard for us. Obviously Joe Biden would starve America and then go poof after pardoning his son. Did y'all hear about the 2 people who said that they didn't want Joe Biden's pardon? Because that also tickled me, but can't tell you their names because I don't remember them. But since I don't want to talk all night, and I did want to make sure that we just had a brief conversation about at least how hateful some people can be and how loving other people have been, and look at where it gets us. Until next time, you guys, if you liked tonight, hit the like, or maybe if you didn't like it, share my conversation, share the show, make somebody else uncomfortable, because I promise this year, chock full of unlearn, and then we're gonna have to do some learning.
Just eat.